Hello and welcome back. Our cello issue today is the comparison just playing for fun versus practicing. First, an interesting language issue. When each of us wanted to learn to play cello, we said, I want to play cello. Once we started learning, often the playing part became forgotten. What happened to that? And that is the point where some say, I don't want to have all these exercises, scales and studies. I just want to play for fun. I want to say, I was one of these. I played the scales and studies just for my teacher and practiced more the studies which I really liked, and the others I really didn't play. During all my tertiary studies, to my final diploma, I had refused playing scales, called it a time waste. I must say today I start with a very slow scale. In fact, 3 beats for each note. And the reason is, my first piece, when I started playing on the day, was always far below my level. Many mistakes, and I found that repeatedly frustrating. The slow scale brings me fastest to being fully with the cello, and sound intonation is good after these 2 or 3 minutes. Anyway, without my teacher knowing, I played pieces he didn't allow me to play, because he planned them for later or never. And the outcome? I was always motivated, because I played them. Because I liked everything I played. The sense of perfection developed gradually, wanting to get the best out of the piece, the best sound and flow and effect. And I find this surge still the biggest fun, the most interesting, one of the most satisfying things I do, find the right way for that note. In standard lessons, we get often overrun by rules and regulations of what one has to do and how, plus exercises which are often boring or even ugly. Some things, of course, are necessary, like playing in tune, knowing rhythm and playing in rhythm, feeling comfortable, and it should sound good. Everything else is secondary, and I mean secondary. Many so-called rules don't even exist, plus every teacher has different rules. And some rules are destructive for sound, like a certain length of bow for a certain value. It doesn't exist. Like you should not look for something visual, for something audible. If you want a good sound, you listen, you don't look. That it should sound good is anyway often postponed to later, postponed into the never. Too often we give in, that we sound like a beginner or a student, and nothing can be done about it. Without realizing, we gradually talk only about practicing cello. We expect that the great ones are out there, can make a good sound, but we are left behind. And the fact is, many regulations of how to play don't even consider sound, expressing something in a piece. And no wonder some run away, want only to play for fun. And that means focusing on playing through, playing favorite pieces and probably ignoring perfection. And in a way I understand that. I find actually playing through is utterly important to understand a piece. But for many, the question will appear, I started initially to have fun with playing cello, but end up having to fulfill one duty after another with no end in sight. I recommend at that point, I will be attacked about it, to find a teacher who can go with you. Doesn't force you to start from scratch, doesn't force you into a practice framework where joy is not included. And I go back to what I call a beginner sound. Even after just a few sessions, You can enjoy little tunes, try to play them beautiful, and you should get help to do that. Listening to your sound should start just here, lesson 1. Rules often overrule listening. Judge with your own ear and taste. Find out for yourself. And if you have a musical teacher or friend, ask if you can't work it out yourself. After a few months, everyone should be able to play simple songs beautiful, even without vibrato. And once we try, we get better at it. Soon we will have in our mind a selection of pieces and develop favorites. We are now ready to play for sheer enjoyment. That might be just after 3 months of starting. And don't delay. Real playing makes us a better player. Create a favorites book. Put all pieces you really like into a special folder, a favorites folder. In the evening, you don't want vigorously to study new pieces, difficult passages, but get the cello out and just play for enjoyment, just for fun. Then flick through your favorites book and say, and today I feel like that one. This is not something which can only be done after years and years, but as soon as little beautiful pieces are put aside because we go on to new pieces. And then we can decide, I want to keep this one and that one. After a year, it can be already quite a collection. I might add, I learned most from pieces I knew already very well. In fact, by memory and usually without a mistake. Because then something interesting happens. I started to notice these little details which I call the little unhappiness. And that means I can play it well, it's correct, it's good. I can imagine it better, smoother, without this little glitch, this little unhappiness. Now, because it's one of the pieces I really like, have time for, repeatedly, I feel like fixing that tiny, tiny problem. There could just be a note doesn't start right, doesn't finish right, I always touch another string, a tiny touch out of tune, or maybe it sounds like nothing, not enough, empty. Now this little bit gets no attention, and that's where strict practicing had finished to improve something. It is where real music begins, where every little bit has to be like you imagine it, so that we can really enjoy every bit. And that's actually where quality starts to be a good player. Well, after that bonus, don't forget, many pieces can be played with someone together. Once we can play a piece well, are not embarrassed anymore, don't need to stop, can play it good, enough in rhythm and in tune, we get with someone together, have fun together. At the end of this video, I play the start of the most common easy pieces for my beginner students' favorites books, little pieces from the first year. And now you can join the club of real music voyeurs. Have fun. Well, is this fun healthy? Funny question. Just 2 interesting little facts. 1. An Oxford University study on dementia concluded that of all professional groups, only one stuck out as different. Musicians get dementia about 10 years later than all other professions. 2. By editing and looking at cellists' birth and death note dates, I noticed, by editing and arranging, that the life expectancy of cellists is in the average longer than of their contemporaries. Why could that be, or both of them? To 1, playing actively a musical instrument combines in a unified way to observe with our eyes very carefully. Music writing is much more condensed than normal reading. To listen with our ears very precisely, to move our arms and fingers in a highly coordinated way, in particular for cello players, also to sit upright and moving our whole body in an active and balanced way. So it seems playing cello altogether is healthy for body and mind. I hope you enjoyed the video and wishing you a lot of joy playing cello. I say goodbye for now until next time for the next lesson or the next Cello Issues video, and I hope you enjoy the little clips which follow now. Our first one is a little duo originated by a guitar composer. You should be able to play it after about 2 to 3 months, called Andantino by Carcassi. Our second piece is Purcell Rigadoon. As well, it's just at the very beginning of slurs, let's say 3 months. And now, a favorite of my Chinese, Indian and Japanese students. They all like Sakura, Sakura. And it's a very easy version. It should be playable after half a year. And now, and you probably all know it from Simon and Garfunkel, Scarborough Fair. It really, they didn't write it, it is actually written about 1600. And here's an easy version for 2 cellos, same level as Sakura, Sakura. And now we go a tiny level higher where extensions occur, so about after a year. And this is Dona Dona, a favorite of all of my students. And here, you might all know it, the theme of the Pachelbel canon, for 2 cellos, and enjoy it. And last, Gilderoy, an old Irish tune, and as well playable after about a year and a bit. And that's it. Goodbye.